All right, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Crypto Wolf back again, and today we're just doing a quick little video before we're kind of gearing up for the Sunday CME opening, beginning of the week here, and it's going to be about motivation. Now, the first thing I want to even say is, how are you doing with your trading? Are you doing better than last week? Are you planning on doing better this week? What's the deal? What do you got going on here? How's it been going for you? Are you struggling a little bit still? Or are you kind of doing the same thing that you've been doing, having the same thing happen? If so, maybe it's time to do something a little bit different. So we're just going to kind of chat for a quick second about all that. Get in the right mindset coming into this week and hopefully build up to some better trades, maybe some better decisions, maybe switch it up a little bit, whatever we got to do. Real quick quote of the day. I love a success story, but even more than that, I like a dude who fucks his life up and gets his life together again story. That one's from Joe Rogan. And I also want to point out as well, let me skip over here real quick. I very, very, very much recommend watching this video right here. It's on the channel Motivation Core. Joe Rogan's ultimate advice will leave you speechless. Best life advice. This is a longer one. There's a slightly short. Yeah, this one right here. There's a shorter one too. And this is the one that I watch. So if you're not trying to spend as much time on it, it's only 22 minutes, but it is outstanding. It's good stuff. And if you ever watched or listened to Joe, he's not holding back. He's just going to tell it like it is because he's a real MFer. And it is a very good thing to to get your mind into the right spot a little bit, to give you a little bit of perspective, particularly if you've kind of been stuck in the same mindset for a while. And if it's not, overwhelmingly working out for you, then why wouldn't you try to improve on it, try a little something different, or completely switch it up altogether? And, coming back here real quick to this little page. I actually took this picture myself, and every time I see it, it reminds me of the path ahead that you can go kind of deal. And, a lot of people will come to a spot in life where you got multiple paths, multiple routes that you could take. Even like when I was at this place, you could go around this little pond to the right. You could circle all the way around to the left, or you could take this little bridge right through. And it was interesting on the way forward, like right where I'm at right now, when I took this picture, I walked across the bridge and there's some people fishing on there. I stopped, say hi to the people fishing, asked, hey, you guys catch anything? How's it going? There's some little kids there teaching to fish and, just interacting along the way. And just that alone, might brighten up your day a little bit, just talking to some other people. Most people are generally friendly. Like where I live, I can't stand it because there's a university literally a block away, and I'm always walking the dog, and the university is actually kind of a nice place to walk the dog because they got all these sidewalks and little green spaces and all that good stuff. And so I go walking through there, and it still amazes me how often that I will see people as I'm walking, whether through campus or even just nearby, that not only won't say hi, but if I say hey or how you doing or how's it going, won't even say a word back. They'll literally just look straight down at their shoes at the sidewalk as they're walking. And it blows my mind. I'm like, damn, and as you could probably imagine, most of these college kids, just by looking at them, you could tell many of them are maybe a little bit more left leaning, if you will. Not saying that it's a good or a bad thing. I'm just saying that there just, for whatever reason, seems to be a mentality coming out of universities, and particularly more, because everything's getting political these days. So people who are leaning more further left political, and I'm not talking about classical liberals or anything like me. I'm probably more libertarian-esque than anything. So there's plenty of stuff that I'm liberal about. I'm not a diehard like Bible thumper or anything like that. Again, not saying those people are wrong either or bad, but it's just, it's gotten so much more noticeable with seeing the kids here, and just antisocial, no people skills. It just, I don't know, it blows my mind, because I've generally always been a people person, and you will be amazed how far having a mouthpiece on you will get you. I remember way back in the day, matter of fact, the guy who ended up recruiting me to come down to where I'm working at right now, we used to go to this thing in Orlando, and we ended up going out, a couple years in a row. And the second year, I'm just like, what, let's go here. Let's see what happens. So you'll have a good time. We didn't really have any money, but it was in a nicer part of town, and it was like this club / steakhouse, and real fancy with I won't get into it too much, but we go there, and we're just chilling, we're hanging out, and kind of sitting back from the main area, because we didn't have money all like that. And we see some people come in. I'm like, I bet you those people are from the trade show we were at. And they just kind of seemed like some regular blue collar dudes, so they kind of maybe stood out a little bit too. And I'm like, you know what, this is getting boring. I'm like, I'm gonna go walk up, I'm gonna talk to them, and just maybe we can go hang out with them, see where the night takes us. And literally just being a little motivated, a little outgoing, and just generally friendly, ended up went over, ended up sitting down at the table with them. They went to get some steaks. We got a little bit of food ourselves, and they had some money. They were over here spending 5 digits, and so needless to say, like, people were coming around. And next thing you know, we end up having like a fantastic night, barely spent any money whatsoever. Dudes are just buying us drinks right along with, with the rounds that they're buying for themselves. We're talking, we're having a good time. Finally, we leave out of there. My dude even gets like a girl's number and stuff. And we're leaving out of there, and he's just like, dude, how the fuck did that just happen? And he's like, how does your mouth get you or us into situations like this, where like went from just being quiet in the corner, just like wondering like, oh, is this just gonna be boring, like we don't have enough money to have real fun in here, to just having a blast just from talking to people. So I kind of strayed from like the trading thing a little bit, but you know what I mean, like you got to be a little bit extroverted sometimes. And it's the same thing like when you are coming into like tonight with the CME getting ready to open, potentially seeing some volume jump back in. We're going to see some price movement. Are you going to sit back and watch and be like, get to this point and be like, oh damn, that would have been nice to short from up here? Or are you going to be a little bit more proactive and start looking for some of these signs that we've been talking about, that I'm sure you've been thinking about, that you've been testing a little bit, and jump on it? So even if you don't, say you got 1,000 in your account, you don't go jumping in with the whole 1,000 or whatever. Just jump on a little trade real quick, see what happens. Oftentimes, you get a little bit of a pullback or something like that, and then you see that, okay, it starts pulling back down. Well, you got a lower high right there, so maybe we continue on. So then maybe you increase the trade a little bit. Then once you're feeling a little bit more comfortable that it's continuing the way that you expected it to. Over here on the 1 minute, just so things are kind of moving and flickering, so I'm not really basing any decisions off of this, but I know I would like to see this turn around right here. Looks like we got a little bit of bullishness on the VWAP here, and getting some RSI split on the way down. I would like to see this turn back, because I do actually have a trade open at the moment. Like, I kind of went in right before we got this big pump, and my stop loss is like right here, so I'm hoping it stays above that. We'll see. Nothing big. I wasn't it was kind of like I just sat down and I'm like, oh, look at that, and I was like, I should go long on it. And I'm like, you know what? Now I just feel like I'm FOMOing, and I'm just, so all right. So I stepped back, took a couple seconds, analyzed. I'm like, well, we kind of have this little VWAP trending up here, even though the price was still coming down a little bit. So Like, all right, I'm going to test this theory out. You know, RSIs were pretty decently split. So I figured I'd test it out. Looked pretty good. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to hang in there. I expected maybe a 50% pullback. Then we came up. Then we started getting this. And I'm like, well, all right, let me be patient. We'll see what happens. If it comes through, stops me out, whatever. It was basically a test trade. So now that I'm looking at this money flow over here, it's, who knows? You know, come up a little time frame right here. It's been super choppy. Yeah, potentially maybe heading down right there. And we still have a couple hours until the market opens. But it is looking a little bearish at the moment. You know, I did see some bearish divergence right here. Kind of same thing with the VWAP right there. So we did have bearish divergence calling out that little pullback at least. Now it looks like we might be having a little trigger wave right here. Oh, it's so close. It's so close. It's so close. I'm pretty sure it's going to hit. Oh, I'm going to let it hit. But, you know, there is the possibility that we could keep a little channel going. Oh, phone vibrated. Did that mean? Yeah, I hit. Oh, well. Probably should have been paying closer attention. I could have closed it up here, but I really wasn't in any rush with that. Almost like a double top right here between these two. See, pulling back a little bit. Yeah, it could be a little, maybe come back to this moving average right here before taking off. I suppose that's the bullish case scenario. We're at 24 minutes. So what 2 hours would be? Figure like right here. Whew, have to be a steep little drop to get there. Let's see, let's bump up in the time frame a little bit, see what it's looking like. Up here on the 4 hour, still heavily in the green on the money flow. You know, we are down a little bit from that peak right there, which is some bearish divergence on the money flow. So we got a little bit of this action going though. You know, VWAP trending up, but maybe a bit of rejection right here. Which, if that's the case, no, that wouldn't be divergent. So, you know, RSI is still looking decent enough, hanging up high. We shall see, we shall see. And DBSI just kind of in a sustainment mode. Get 2 6s in a row. Let's go to the 1 hour. Oh, you know, real quick too, I apologize for that. Fuck, it did it to me again where YouTube didn't post the video. And so like the video from yesterday, I noticed it this morning, so went through and redid it this morning. And on that subject, just to point out what we were looking at, I was talking about, you know, some of these altcoins that have been pretty decent as far as like Saturday trading, or even just like weekend, you know, when everything's going sideways. And one of them was Anchor. So this guy literally, I mean, right after I made that video, has just been continuing up after it had, you know, this previous little uptrend leg. And I think when I made that video, we were right around here, some point in the pullback. I was like, damn, I was right on that one. And then Near was another one I was looking at. I don't know if I put that one in the video, but you know, I had a nice little 18%er last night, this morning. But, you know, between Friday, Saturday, 25%. I think, what else we did, like Dot and Luna. Now, Polkadot finally kind of started going sideways, but it capped off, you know, Friday into Saturday morning pretty well. Luna just kept on continuing right through till we got about 2 a.m. today. We'll see. Money flow is still generally high, but we might be coming down. We do have the RSI splitting as it comes down. So if we get a nice momentum wave down here, you know, could get a situation like this where we get just a nice little pullback before it continues, especially if the rest of the market starts pumping. So we shall see with that. Solana was doing just steady Eddie right through the weekend. Now we're seeing RSIs come down a little bit here, even though the price really only going sideways and it was getting a decent little split. Money flow is decreasing some, so potentially could be hitting the end of this fairly long uptrend, but maybe not. That's the hourly RSI, kind of weak on the downside, but it's still kind of weak at the moment too, which is generally kind of sideways indications. Holy shit, look at this. Audio finally making some moves. 40%. Still not enough to recoup what I got on it, but money flow looking fairly nice. We got Doge moving a little bit. Kind of broken, went sideways. Yeah, a lot of stuff had... What the hell is this? Oh, it's a rectangle. A lot of stuff had like a out of nowhere pump just a little bit ago. I mean, not super huge, but it was fairly sudden when we just got this big candle, or these two, depending on your time frame. So I'm wondering if, I'm wondering if people are gearing up, getting ready for market open, jumping the gun a little bit. Yeah, just for being the 4 minute, it's been pretty strong to the downside there. View up, starting to head back up, but money flow not looking great. It's very much seeming like potentially maybe an altcoin day again. Yeah, it's kind of sideways there. Man, Anchor and Near really just kind of taking the cake. Aside from audio, but that's... Who knows if that'll continue. I do like the project that audio is built on. Maybe a little baby bump right there with Rune. And money flow was coming up, and then we just kind of started going sideways. Be nice if this was a little trigger wave. Looks like about the same height on those momentums. 15, it would be a decent start. You know, RSI is generally heading up. Be nice if this is just a nice little round out the bottom. Man, it's hard to look on this time frame. Oof. pretty much in the red right there. Let's see if we can spot any divergence here. You know, we definitely had, some divergence across the VWAP as it started trending up as this was going down. Fairly similar to what we had back here. And that came out into a decent little pull-up. Again, saw it back here as we were coming down. Got that out of it. A 4% on the last one. Would be nice to see this money flow curve back up. But yeah, so, you know, back to the topic of motivation. So, you know, definitely go check out this video. Very nice. I've been trying to like spend the morning, or at least half the morning, you know, watching some of these little motivational videos, just kind of getting some ideas here and there. And what the fuck are you doing? That was weird. Just trying to get some, you know, some general ideas of useful stuff, because you know the biggest thing that a lot of people just kind of forget is, you know, you get into this habit, you get into this rut of doing the same thing kind of day in and day out, and you know, over a while, you know, you really don't even think about it. You just start thinking like, damn, like, you know, I wish I was doing better at this, or you know, I wish things were moving a little faster, I was more successful, or had some more money, you know, especially with all the inflation shit going on. You know, people get kind of nervous because, yeah, like how often are people's wages really going up, even though they say, oh, you know, inflation is such and such, but it's okay because it means people's wages are going up. Like, motherfucker, I don't know anybody who got a raise, at least not, you know, as a part of like inflationary help. So, yeah, okay. But it's kind of a, you know, it's that point when, you know, nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's going to do it for me. So, like, I have to go be proactive and try to just find ways, think up some methods to try to keep the ball moving forward, basically. You know, and part of that was doing this friggin' YouTube channel, because, you know, it forces me to sit down to learn more about doing the analysis, to look at the charts a little bit more seriously rather than just like a passing glance or something like that. Oh, holy shit. Figures, man, the one time I don't look at it. But oh, that kind of made me salty to see that. But yeah, you know, you just gotta take it a little bit more seriously. Like in that Joe Rogan video, he's talking about how, you know, you essentially, like, you really have to want it. You have to do it, even if you work a full-time job or you have, you know, family responsibilities and things like that. Even if you only get 1 or 2 hours a night to work on, you know, whatever your passion project may be, that you know, better take those 2 hours and do it as best you can, even if you have to tell people like, hey, you know, for these 2 hours, don't bug me unless it's an emergency or something like that. And, you know, sit there, plan it out, just like you have a plan for an individual trade. plan out like, okay, I want to try to make enough trading so that I can quit my job and stay home, be a day trader, and actually, plot that out a little bit. Like realistically, what would that entail? And the same thing goes for anything. If you want to be a writer, you like writing books. I believe me, I've been there. I've actually written a few, and it is a fairly monumental task. You got to spend a lot of time on it, not to mention likely a lot of time on research. If you're like me, I don't know, I like to be accurate about shit, at least as best as I can. So even in the course of writing those, did almost as much research as I did writing, and that was for fiction. But you gotta realistically plot it out and figure, okay, well, what's the first step? Don't even necessarily get bogged down on this long, complicated road ahead, just because you literally just got to start doing it. And so sometimes, like with trading, over time I found myself getting into this rut of, I would look at the chart and be like, I don't really see anything going on at the moment, and then just walk away, and then come back, later on or the next day or something and look and be like, oh man, like 2 hours after I looked would have been a great time for a trade. And I did that for weeks, like at one point. And after a while, like it got so frustrating. I'm like, man, fuck, son of a bitch. Like, if I'd only been paying more attention, and I'll even have it in the back of my mind, even when you're doing something else, I'd be like, man, I wonder if I should be checking the chart right now, see what's going on, and like, and whatever. And sure enough, always miss some nice little entries, some nice signals and things like that. And so, one of the things I've been trying to do lately is to make a conscious effort to not just look at it, because, sometimes you could look at it, you glance at it, and maybe it's in the middle of doing nothing really. Maybe it looks like this chart right here looks. And you're like, okay, well, we're just kind of bouncing around sideways. Like, yeah, maybe there was potentially like a little less than 1% right there or something. And so you just, okay, it's not doing shit. And you just kind of walk away. But if I've been forcing myself to, come over, okay, look at the bigger time frames, not just, the 12 or the 15 minute or the 10 minute. Look at the longer time frames, but okay, generally, what are we doing? Well, okay, we're still potentially kind of coming up, possibility that we might have a little pullback here, but money flow a little bit lower. So I'm like, okay, overall, I'm kind of expecting, either a little bit of continuation, but at some point, a pullback. Then maybe jump down a time frame. Say, okay, we've been fairly sideways, to the upside a little bit. VWAP is coming up over here on the 1 hour. RSI still kind of coming back a little bit. Money flow high, but possibly rolling over. Depends what this VWAP cross kind of equates to. But we did have a little bearish divergence on the VWAP right there, which tough to say if that's all we'll get out of it. Is just 2 hours to the downside, but so it kind of depends on what happens right now, literally. So I'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to check back in a half an hour and just kind of set that little plan. So rather than being like, there ain't shit going on, and just turn my back on it. Like if I'm being serious about trying to do better with it, part of that is being able to scout out those good entries, and the odds of you finding it just on a random chance that you just look at the chart 2-3 times a day are ridiculously low. So you gotta make an effort to check it more. And I get and the hard part for me is most of the time it's doing the most during the day on the weekdays, and being at work, you can't always be sitting there checking it on your phone, or if you have a desk and a computer, whether or not they're super strict about having anything else on your computer screen, maybe you got it minimized in the background, and once in a while just pop it open, take a quick look, See, okay, maybe just keep it on the half hour or something in the middle to where you could be like, okay, this is kind of where we're heading. All right, maybe I'll check back in a little bit. Or even if you have to, you know, when you go to the bathroom, sit there playing on your phone, sit there and check it real quick and be like, okay, this is going on. But yeah, just making that effort to try, because, you know, the market's not going to work around your time frame, which I know it sucks. And yeah, you can bust out some little scalps in the evening, and lately it's been a little bit better even, but you know, the big money's really been during the day, during the week. So just making that effort to try to pay more attention and try to scout out, you know, solid entries, because, you know, there was for a little while there, like I was like, damn, like nothing was going on in the evening. And at that point I was trying to force a trade more than I was like hitting any trade or entry that I actually wanted. And that didn't work out all that great. I mean, you might get a little bit out of it, but you know, at that point, like I don't even care about the trade as much, just because it's like, well, okay, you know, maybe this is an okay one, but you know, there's not much going on, so I didn't expect much out of it. And you know, you just don't take it as seriously. So yeah, so that's a little bit of you know, what I've been trying to bang into my head a little bit. But yeah, you know, keep up with the motivational stuff. You know, again, it's Sunday, we're coming up, it's a fresh new week, and I'm hoping to like my game plan for the week is trying to scout out some more of these, you know, VWAP divergences and see what we can make out of that. You know, I'm not even like having expectations. Just, you know, when you start seeing it, even though that's not a divergence, but you know, when you start seeing that VWAP divergence going on, trusting in it. It's like, okay, we had one right here. You know, wasn't much out of that. Ended up going up a little bit more. So I'd be like, okay, but not, you know, not getting discouraged, you know, because we're still kind of generally trending down over a longer period right there. I mean, even that would have been not a 1%er, but over this longer time frame. And keep in mind, don't forget which way the money flow is going. You know, if money flow is going up, seeing a bearish divergence on the VWAP is not likely to be, son of a bitch, not likely to be a big pullback. Kind of a double top on this one. A little bit better here on the 30-minute. Yeah, that would have been a nice, you know, looking at that bearish divergence on the VWAP right there, and technically even had it on the momentum wave a little bit, and then catching that blood diamond right after. You know, if you went in while the VWAP was down, even if you exited when it came back up, which this one could have held out, you know, even if you took profits and then saw it going sideways and saw the money flow coming down, maybe even put a little bit back into it. Now that would have been a decent little one. %6. But that's the other thing too with these VWAP divergences is, you know, there's a little bit more to go around as well. You know, didn't quite catch it on this time frame, but we did have the momentum wave divergence. Got a little bit out of that. But over here, did have a VWAP divergence on this final leg right there. So that's another thing I want to pay attention to is, you know, we were coming up right here. We didn't get divergence on the VWAP. Did have it on the momentum wave. Did play out in a pullback a little bit. And then as we came up this last leg, we were getting divergence on the VWAP. And then we did actually kind of reach kind of an end of this uptrend. I mean, we went sideways from there, but generally speaking, that was about the end of the straight uptrend. Because then we just consolidated for a little bit before continuing down. And if you're as patient as a turtle, could get what, 7.3 out of that one. At that point, you'd be better off just taking the 3.5 and the 6. You know, here's an interesting one. From here down to there, had 2 in a row. You know, as we were coming up here, played out in a little bit of a pullback there. You know, money flow started going down. Did get redirected and then kind of bumped up a little bit again and again before just poking down into the red. Had a little bit. This is interesting. So just looking at this right now, I'm starting to kind of see a trend going on here. So we were getting, you know, divergence on the momentum waves. You know, it was playing out in like kind of like segments where you got, God, I'm so sick of that happening. You get a segment here, you know, divergence, momentum dips, this steadily going up, but VWAP starts diverging. And then you kind of reach the end of that segment. Again, this was upward consolidation. I mean, if this were a less bullish, you know, larger time frame, likely would have been more pullback. But money flow did start immediately increasing again. You know, the opposite case here. VWAP diverging to the upside. And you know what they say, the trend is your friend. So, you know, seeing that we are generally still uptrending, you know, maybe you only want to hit up bullish divergence. Because it can be a little sketchier trying to do bearish divergence in an uptrend. So you never quite know when it's, oh man, when it's going to be a small one, when it's going to be a big one, which is going to be a tiny one. And I think that's largely going to be a product of, you know, the money flow itself. It's not quite divergent, but big trend on the money flow right here, just like we had back here, you know, between this guy and this guy. They call it mama turtle, baby turtle. That's pretty much some divergence right there. It's a triple bottom. We'll see. I think it's, you You know, look at the money flows. They're real tight, real small. We're kind of winding up prior to the opening. Let's see what happens here. This, you know, getting real flaky right here with the VWAP crosses, but you know, money flow is somewhat high. So we'll see if we're going to roll over or if this is just the beginning. Wouldn't that be nice? Just out of curiosity, where did we leave off? What was Friday the 1st? Yes. So what is it? 3:30, 4:30. So there's 4 o'clock. So just before CME closed, we were about right there. So we had just got done pumping, finishing up Friday right after that pullback. That's right there. That was our weekend. So we'll see, maybe potentially, you know, doing the opposite. Come back and erase that. Yep, so there's the futures chart where we left off. A little bit different shape. It was kind of a little bit downish. Didn't quite retake the previous high. And money flow was coming up, but started clipping the end of that a little. Pretty similar shape to this here. I mean, not that last leg of it, but, you know, similar shape to that. Let's see if we could find another similarity. Yeah, fairly similar shape to this, as well as that. Yep. So either potentially getting ready to pump or dump. Either way, looking like we may be in for a decent little trade here with the CME opening. You know, money flow is coming down, but it's kind of rounding out sideways. VWAP still above the 0 line. Momentum wave, you know, pretty far to the bottom. Got our big green dot, so plenty of room to the upside. There's a lot of VWAP movement just for this little guy, though. Let me see, what was the previous gap? 20. So 25th, 27th. So yeah, so this was last CME gap right here. Got that big old giant candle right upon opening. Almost a similar little setup, actually. Now, obviously, we didn't quite have as big a pump leading up to it, but we did, you know, come back and start curling up. Just like come back, start curling. Although this one's kind of leading into the down, but we'll see. I'm not sure how much that really matters when you know, skip 2 days and just come back out of the blue. Like, is it really going to continue with whatever it was previously doing? You know, sentiment is fairly fickle and can change quite a bit over the course of a weekend. Did have a nice bullish divergence leading up to all that. And just crossing into the red here. What did we leave off at? 46,445. 46,428. So we're not terribly far from where we left off. I'd say it's a pretty much a closed gap at this point. And we're damn near in the same candle and everything is where we left off back here. Be interesting if we just do the same thing we did after the previous time. But we shall see. Otherwise, basically, I may be doing another video here once. I want to start doing a test on the live stream. So sometime here, there might be a little bullshit video where I just test it out. And we very possibly have an interview coming with one of you fine people. So we'll see. Could be something interesting. Matter of fact, I didn't check my email yet. Nope, nothing yet. So yeah, I'll probably see you in a little bit. Remember, stay motivated, do something. Go watch that Joe Rogan video. Do something to get yourself pumped up. If you got to do like fucking 10 push-ups before you sit down in the computer chair, you know, do that. Remember, be a badass. Be a wolf. Be aggressive. But be smart. Later.